Hello, welcome to Python for Academics. The great thing about using Jupyter Notebooks is that they allow you to run portions of your code and rerun single cell multiple times. This becomes very handy when you're looking through your research results and trying to test different scenarios, maybe changing a parameter and seeing how your results respond to that change. But today I wanted to show you an example that contains a word of caution when you rerun just portions of your Jupyter Notebook. And then I give you a simple tip to avoid making mistakes in your results. So in this example, we will create a list of 10 elements that store some research result based on some parameter that can take values, let's say 5 or 10. So we start by creating the results list, which is initially an empty list, and we set the parameter value initially equal to 10. And now I have this for loop that loops over 10 indices, and each time it appends an element to that results list, and the element that it appends is equal to I, so the index, times the parameter, the value of that parameter. So if I run this cell and then I check what is the first element in the list, so I access the first element, I see that the first element is equal to 10. We can also visualize the elements in that list. You see that I have 10 elements going from 10 to 100. And now let's say that we wanted to change the parameter value to 5. So I rerun these two cells again, and now I check the first element in the list. And the Jupyter Notebook tells me that it's still 10, which does not make sense because the first index in that for loop is equal to 1 multiplied by 5. That should give me the first element in the list being equal to 5. Now, in your manuscript, you might be making some claims based on the first element in the list, which might correspond to a particular research result. So it's important that we get the value of that first element right. And if we now look at the elements in that results list, you can see that we actually have 20 elements. And you see that the previous elements that we generated when the parameter was equal to 10 are still there. And then we appended those new 10 elements corresponding to the parameter equal to 5. And this is because when I rerun the for loop, I didn't rerun this cell, which clears out the results list. So now if I rerun the cell with the parameter set to 5, I rerun the for loop again, you can see that the first element in the list is indeed 5. If I visualize those results, now I get a list of 10 elements again. So a much safer way to set up your code in a Jupyter Notebook is to include the clearing out of the list in the same cell where you append to the list. And this way you make sure that you always append to an initially empty list. And in fact, it's also safe to add the definition of that parameter in the same cell where you append to the list. This way, if you change that parameter, you make sure that the for loop will always use the current value of that parameter. So now if I change that parameter back to 10, you can see that the first element in the list is equal to 10, and we get a list of 10 elements.